Going for boost over. Well, I think going for boost, if you're a boost merchant, like someone like AJ or someone, you go for boost.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Always, every second of every game. Ball's going in your net, don't worry about it. Go get the boost and make sure you've got the full 100 to celebrate with the other team.
Oh God. Never. Yeah, never. Always go for ball.
Yeah.
Number one rule of Rocket League.
Welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, where three aggressively average Rocket League players talk about everything RLCS with your hosts, Ace, Code Red Jack, Kyle Cube, and AJ Binky. So, if you've ever wondered when the best time to go for Boost Over Ball is, you've come to the right place.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday season, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate. We hope that you had a happy and merry time. We'd also like to wish you a happy new year. Hopefully, here's to hearing some more about RLCS here in the coming days. But I'm Kyle K Cube, and today I'm here with Sasuke. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing, Kyle?
Doing good. Hopefully you had a good holidays. Hopefully you got to spend some time with your family and, more importantly, not work.
Yeah, no, that was great. Coming off, a month straight of 70-hour work weeks. I got a nice week and a half, 2-week vacation, so that was nice. Stepped away from a lot of the chaos of daily life.
Yeah, sounds good. But in today's episode, we'll be talking about some more roster rumors, some roster news that have come out since the last time we recorded. We'll also be talking about RLCS, the upcoming season, as well as some rumors that I've heard floating around about RLCS. So should be an exciting show. And with that, let's jump right into the roster rumors.
Yeah, so first we have SK Gaming, who's dropping out of RLCS. We have another org that's leaving the scene. Pretty interesting because you didn't really hear a lot from SK Gaming last season. I honestly didn't even know they were still representing a team and fielding a roster. However, I think I saw someone post on Twitter, I think about a day or two ago, couple just like infographics. And I think there were about 30 orgs representing teams last season. And I think we still already have 30 orgs that are that have announced rosters for this upcoming season. So even though we have some movement, I don't really think that's any indicator for positive or negative growth within the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree because we see, like, especially in NA, we see the resurgence of Luminosity bringing back their roster. Unfortunately, we see the departure of V1. One of the crowd favorites, and certainly one of the most dedicated fan bases we've seen in a while. We continue to see Cloud9 kind of lurking in the shadows. A lot of people every time, hey, it's rumored that they may return, that a new org may return. It's Cloud9's usually at the forefront of those rumors. We have potentially some other organizations picking up teams and re-entering the scene. So I don't necessarily think it's a good or a bad thing. It's just interesting to see, another organization dropping out of the scene.
No, for sure. I think a lot of it has to deal with the lack of exposure that some orgs feel that they deserve more of. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not fielding a roster that's good enough to get into those, main events, then unfortunately, the way that the format is set up, it's just not going to work for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe one of those things, and we could do a bigger segment on this at a later date, but, what can, RLCS, Psyonix, Epic do to help support these organizations better? And it's, really, we kind of boiled it down to, we've talked about it a little bit in the past, is more ways to monetize their presence in RLCS. So updating, team decals, I know those are things that people really like to buy, but you can't get an SK Gaming one. They were in the scene for, almost all of last season. You can't do it. Some rosters like Luminosity had a decal and then it went away. Rule 1 still doesn't have an official one. Crew doesn't have, some to be to name a few more. There's none in SSA, things like that. So I think there's really an opportunity to grow the monetization there and to give these organizations some more revenue streams and reasons to be in RLCS.
I agree, but I think we can make that into a completely, entirely separate episode. So we're going to move on. You can take the next point.
Okay. We have Andy and Toasty. Andy, formerly of Dignitas, and Toasty set to team up with 5UP. 5UP's an up-and-coming. He's a 17-year-old Rocket League player. Kind of been in and around the bubble scene for a little bit. Pirates on a Boat is the team that he's currently on with Andy and Toasty, and they're set to compete in this upcoming split. Should be interesting to see what they can do. Andy certainly has that RLCS experience, teaming up with Toasty and a new player. Always good to see new players kind of getting their shot. So hopefully we'll see good things from them coming up in the next split or season, however they decide to split things up.
No, for sure. Love to see the new talent that's being injected into the scene, especially recently. It seems like after this past season, this whole off season has been who are going to be the new names that are stepping in and kind of taking over.
Yeah, for sure. On that same note of teams being built, Williams Resolve has announced that their partnership with Williams Racing, the Formula One team, is going to be ending, and they are now rebranded as Resolve, and most recently Grind Serve Resolve as they get a new name level sponsor. They are set to build around Noah Saki, and they will be adding Lewis P and Raziers. This is kind of a big deal for Resolve, as they've previously been an all English team, with Williams Racing being an English racing team. They've continued to be United Kingdom based, but adding Lewis P, who is Spanish, and Raziers, who is German, will be an international team, and I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, no, that's definitely different. I'm interested to see what that roster can do. I mean, Williams Resolve didn't really make too much of a splash all of last season, so definitely interested to see if they can take that next step forward.
Certainly.
Next one we have Dying, Ivan, and Sizen set to team up for the next split. That's definitely going to be an interesting team. And then lastly, which is I think the probably most surprising thing that we've seen, is Growly set to sit out the next coming split, but there's been no reason or explanation that anyone can have. Like, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I have not either. His tweet that he sent out in October, not in October, that he was looking for a team, exploring his options, things of that nature, and then it's announced that he's going to be sitting out. He tweeted himself that quick announcement, as of right now, I'm not going to be playing the first split, and to be honest, I'm devastated, as it feels like the 9 months or so were for nothing. Good luck to all the people competing, and see you in split 2, hopefully. So, I mean, to me, that kind of seems like maybe he didn't get the tryouts that he wanted, or he couldn't find a fit with teams that he wanted to play with, or teams that there was a disconnect between the teams that he wanted to play with and the teams that wanted him as a player. So I certainly, there's not a lot of information going around about that, but that would be my best guess.
No, for sure. I mean, the way that he phrased it, that's definitely how it sounds. It sounds like he maybe got some tryout opportunities, but nothing ever solidified. But because there's no detail, we don't know if it's an issue from an org side or from a player side, or just kind of how he fits within the certain rosters that are attempting to be built. Maybe it's just an overall playstyle issue. We don't know, but best of luck to him, and hopefully, he's able to find a team. He's absolutely talented enough to, compete at this kind of level. So, maybe we'll see him in the second split.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of notable to me that Sizen, teaming with Dying and Ivan. I mean, the last time we really saw Sizen on the big stage was with Vitality.
Yeah,
Competing
yeah,
alongside of Alpha and
and Radosin.
yeah, thank you, sorry.
No, you're
And
good.
quite frankly, in their run in the winter split last year, I really thought that Sizen was the one that they were going to keep heading into the spring split when grabbing Zen. Um, but ultimately that was not the case, right? As we see, Radosin, Alpha, and Zen completing the perfect split and winning a world championship. But I thought Sizen was a good player. I thought that he performed very well. When he had the opportunity to on stage as a rookie. It's interesting to me to see that he does not find an organizational home, and that he's instead going to be teaming with two other players who don't currently have org backing.
I wonder if it's more of him trying to make it or stand out as the guy, right? Like yeah, he played very well with Vitality right before Zen joined the roster. Um, I definitely thought that Radosin was going to be the odd one out when that roster change happened. Um, but yeah, I think maybe it's because he wants to show that he can be the main player that organizational teams want to build their roster around and not just add to.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I'm intrigued to see what he can do. I enjoy his style of play. I think he's a fantastic player. So we will be looking out to see what happens with Sizen in the upcoming split. But speaking of the upcoming split, it is currently, as of recording, January 2nd. This episode will go live on Wednesday the 3rd, as our usual episodes do. As of recording, we currently have 29 days left in January. RLCS is set to start, quote, at the end of January, which is about 4 weeks. Right? When will we hear news? What can we expect? Like, what are your thoughts?
Let's see. When will we hear news? I don't know. Because as we've seen over this past, I don't know, 6 months to a year mark at this point, um, Epic Games does not want to communicate at all, and it seems like they also have issues with maybe things behind the scenes, with maybe some organizational changes, some structure changes, things like that. Those have been kind of the rumors that I've been hearing popping up as the reason why we haven't gotten maybe more communication. That being that being said, I really hope we get at least a couple weeks before the season is set to start and not get the official announcement maybe week of that first regional tournament. Um, but also some other rumors. We may see an expansion of lands going from the current 16 team format to maybe a 24 team format, which I think is overdue. And I'm really interested to see what kind of representation the all of the regions get as far as how many teams are able to represent them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I feel like we have to hear something somewhat soon because signups are going to be happening soon, right? Teams have to be able to sign up with their players and start to compete, start to get ready to compete in RLCS. Also, like from a fan perspective, from a content perspective, basically anybody who's an enjoyer of RLCS that isn't a professional player, a coach, or someone working on a staff of an organization, it would be kind of helpful to know when the lands are going to be, right? People have to buy plane tickets, people got to get Airbnbs or hotel rooms, they have to like block out the time, take off the time from work if that's what you need to do, things like that. So I would, because the way that, at least like going off of what happened last split, right, it was about like a month of competing and then a LAN, and then a month of competing and then a LAN, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if they're going to start competing at the end of January, that puts a LAN end of February, beginning of March. Like that, that would be helpful
That's
to
a
know.
very quick turnaround. That is a very quick turnaround for a lot of people. Logistically, I feel like that's an absolute nightmare. And I wonder if the reason why we're having a hang up is that they're having maybe trouble securing a venue that they think is fit enough to hold, a land in such a short notice.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I
I mean,
don't.
it's like it is if you really think about it, like if we're talking about potentially organizing a international event in approximately 8 weeks, that's absolutely absurd to have that turnaround.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, right? Like I if I had to guess, I would say that it's like they already know where, like they already know the location. They already have things behind the scenes kind of like going. Maybe that's kind of the things that they're working on, right? With some of the organizations, maybe some of the organizations do know what's going on, right? Because like you hear a lot of the outrage from people who are enjoyers of RLCS, but you don't see a lot of stuff about organizations, right? Like you don't hear, I'm just gonna make stuff up, right? Like you don't hear Vitality tweeting like, "Hey, we'd love to know what's going on." Like,
Yeah, yeah,
is
you
it
have a
is it
point,
possible
right?
that
Yeah,
they
you
already
have a
know?
point. Yeah, like you have a point, and honestly, most likely. But I feel like if they actually had a lot of very concrete information themselves, um, something would have leaked by now.
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean, also like the nature of esports itself, right? It's ever changing, right? So like Vitality's on top of the world right now, but there's a non-zero chance that they don't make the first major, right? Like it's a very low chance, right? Like I think like
Yeah,
1%,
yeah,
but it's a short turnaround regardless, just because of how it's been in the past, right? So like people like weren't locked in to their major spot, up until like 2 or 3 weeks before a major LAN event,
that's true.
right? So like really the only thing that they need to do for the enjoyers of RLCS is to announce the dates of the tournaments, right? And then like the back end stuff that they will handle as they've continued to do, for throughout the past couple of seasons. So like there has to be a reason that they haven't, like, that I'm sure they're coming out with like a hype video or something of the nature to kind of continue to capitalize on some of the game, like the esports year awards that RLCS people won, and the momentum that they created from the world championship. But there's got to be an announcement coming soon, in my opinion. Like it's got to be like within a week or two.
Yeah, no, you make some great points. You make some great points, and I really hope that we do get an announcement the next week or two. I think that's kind of the prime spot if they really want to be able to promote that first regional event well enough to get the viewership and bring in the amount of eyes that they need and that they want.
Yeah. But this is all speculation, and like I'm sure in true podcasting fashion, right? They'll put out an announcement like on Friday or something of this week or early next week,
Of
or
course.
like later next week after we record next week's episode, detailing everything that we've just talked about to make it like completely like useless. But for now, let's talk about some of the rumors that we've heard. In regards to RLCS, which, if this is true, this could also contribute to some of the reasons that maybe we haven't heard very much yet, because you're still trying to determine like formats and things like that. So during this season, so for the fall, the winter, and the spring splits, we had international lands with 16 teams, right? Like 5 NA, 5 EU, 2 Oceania, 2 SAM, 1 MENA, 1 APAC, right? But that now does not encompass all of the regions, as you also have Sub-Saharan Africa involved in there too after their debut at the World Championships. There's a potential rumor that I've heard of expanding lands from 16 to 24 teams.
That would
That
be a game changer.
that
That would
would
be
be
a
pretty
game
cool.
changer. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
what's not to like about more
I
Rocket
I
League?
I love the idea of more Rocket League. I love the idea of more Rocket League. um, I think it's great because I think that we have a lot of representation issues with some of the lower regions, and I think that has kind of stymied their kind of progression, their own development because they don't get the exposure that these gigantic regions do, right? Like NA and EU, they have all of the teams, so of course that the people that are watching are going to be from those areas because those where all the teams come from, right? The more representation that some of these smaller regions get to see their own players at that kind of stage, the more new players from those regions, aspire to be just like them, which I think is just a good thing for RLCS and Rocket League as a in general.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think that it should be interesting, right? Because like it's been shown through the level of play at the World Championships, through repeated attempts from these quote unquote minor region teams. Mina needs more than one spot.
Oh,
They
absolutely,
they just do.
absolutely,
I think
absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
I think Sam could have more than two spots.
No, I think both of those regions make an absolutely great push for more spots. I mean, Mina came in yeah, Mina came in the wild card of the World Championship and went 20 and 9. 69%, 70% win percentage, absolutely wiped the floor in the wild card stage, and then turn around and put up pretty much the best fight they possibly could against EU and NA. Like almost put up a 50% win percentage, 45% win percentage at the group stage. Like they deserve more than one spot, right? SSA, pretty much same thing, came in and went almost 60% in the wild card stage, right? Yeah, at the group stage they kind of fell flat, but at the same time, like they weren't even supposed to get there.
Agreed. So I mean, this kind of also leads to some additional questions like originally it was 5 NA 5 EU just because of the strength of the region, the size of the regions, the amount of people that are playing there. So do you guarantee more region spots for the larger regions like that, or do you kind of do it as a like a wild card type scenario, right? Like where because they all the split points are, at least in the past, have been the same across all the regions, right? So like winning an event versus placing 10th. So do you give it to like, do you do like 7 NA, 7 EU, 2 OCE, 3 SAM, 3 Mina, 1 APAC, 1 SSA? Or do you do like you keep it 6 and 6, and then there's like at large spots, so to speak?
I wouldn't mind seeing like more of an at-large spot kind of structure about it. If we're gonna go that route. Obviously, I think they could also just go a route to where they guarantee a couple more spots for the smaller regions that way. Although I don't think that's how they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna do more of something along the lines of 6 NA, 6 EU, or 7 NA, 7 EU, and then kind of break it down. Maybe have one extra spot go to Mina, or one one spot go to SSA, you know, something like that. I prefer the at large.
Yeah, I mean, doing some of the math: 7 NA, 7 EU, 2 OCE, 3 SAM, 3 Mina, 1 APAC, 1 SSA gets us to 24. So that seems like what like the most likely, in my opinion, because Sam has proven that they can compete on the world stage. You have Furia moving back to Sam. You have a lot of teams in Sam reloading to compete more on the world stage. I think that is something that can happen. OCE, APAC, SSA. While those regions are continuing to expand and continuing to improve, I think that they still have a lot to grow as a region to compete on the world stage, and I don't know that they necessarily deserve or have earned more region spots yet. With their performance in the World Championship and in the last couple of international lands, but you know, even still, like you said earlier, I am here for more Rocket League. I'm always here for more Rocket League.
Absolutely, absolutely. More Rocket League, me happy.
Yeah. So, I mean, moving forward, though, I guess it's not even guaranteed that Sub-Saharan Africa gets any region spots, as they did not the last season, though it was their first season in competition as a region. So, is it possible that they don't get any region spots? I think it is possible, but I think that, for the exposure, for the growth of the region, for the continued growth of Rocket League in that area, I think that giving them a region spot for international majors, not just the World Championship, is certainly the way to go.
Yeah, I don't really see any valid reason that you would have a region compete on a international level and not give them a guaranteed spot to represent themselves at the biggest stage.
Yeah. And another idea that I kind of just had is, like, we've been switching off, as of like recent memory, we've been switching off regions for hosting an event, right? It's been EU, NA, EU, NA, EU, NA. But as Rocket League continues to grow as an esport, as a game, as things that people want to watch, we've seen the success of Gamers 8 in the Middle East. Potentially a Sam hosted event could be on the horizon. I think that maybe you could do some kind of international event where the host nation of the event gets an additional spot, kind of like the World Cup, something like that. They automatically get to qualify. I think that could be kind of cool, because certainly the home fans, quote unquote, love rooting for their own region's teams. So I think that could be a unique way to go about it as well.
No, I think that's a that's an absolutely fantastic idea. I think it's definitely very. I mean, since they have experience right now already organizing national events, between all of these regions already, just finding venues in a good spot, and then obviously whatever other infrastructure issues that need to be ironed out. Like I don't see again any valid reason why they would not continue to expand into the different regions and host lands, and truly be able to grow the exposure across borders.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So, just like everyone else, I think both of us are extremely excited for an announcement whenever it does come, as it is very much believed that the first international event of the year will be hosted in NA, which would be awesome because I would be looking forward to going to that. So hopefully, we'll get some information on that soon. But the last question I will ask you, and we will leave off on for this, RLCS conversation, is: will we see any 13-year-olds at an RLCS event this season? And I'm talking about not necessarily like making a regional event, but I'm talking about making an international event.
All right, if we're talking about international events, I don't think so. Um, I don't see any 13-year-olds that are at that level. You know, I don't think anybody is already at a Daniel type of level, at a first killer type of level at 13 years old. Um, to where they can join a team, carry a team right away. I don't see a Zen coming onto the scene at 13 years old right now. I think there's a lot of very good ones. I think there's going to be a few 13-year-olds that sneak into regional events through qualifiers, but I just don't think they're on teams that are suited with enough talent around them to get them to that international stage.
That's fair. I think that's a good take. I'm kind of in agreement with you. I don't think that the teams that are bringing on 13-year-olds are not necessarily teams that are established, that have the experience, the poise to make those international events. It's kind of teams that are looking to either build something special around somebody, something similar to like how Vitality did with Zen, or they are looking to buy low, kind of sell high type of mentality.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's where a lot of the build up comes. With allowing 13-year-olds to compete, um, is there we'll see a lot of them go through the talent acquisition pipeline a lot sooner, I think. Where we won't see, the 15, 16-year-olds getting on these lower level teams and maybe hitting the bigger ord backed teams at 17, 18, maybe 19. We're seeing them gonna go in at 13 and maybe hit those orgs more closer to 15 years old, 16 years old. Um, I think the age group um, is going to make a big shift younger as we go through the next couple seasons. I think we're going to see a mass influx of younger players um, who have a lot of the additional time and some less responsibilities outside of, just kind of school and their daily responsibilities at home. That will be able to put the hours needed to really set themselves apart.
Yeah, agreed. But with that, I think that it's time to jump down to our last segment of the day, and that's overtime. Overtime is a segment where we answer questions from our Patreon subscribers and from people on Twitter. And we have a question this week from former guest, friend of the podcast, Uncle_Che. And his question is, what is your go-to power breakfast if you have a lot of content to create that day?
Oh, power breakfast for a lot of content to create. It's actually a good one. So I work an overnight shift for, my normal 9 to 5, or for me, it's 6 to 6. So my breakfast happens at like 3 in the afternoon. And I don't know about you guys, but like I don't eat breakfast food outside of like the breakfast time of the day, which is in the morning. So 3 p.m. for me, it's afternoon. I can't eat breakfast food, right? So I'm getting up and my breakfast may be just a hunking bowl of like leftover chili from the night before. However, if we're talking about that first meal, when I know I just kind of I've got to get a lot of content, get a lot of editing down, get a couple videos up. Um, for the most part, I'm just gonna look for something that's not incredibly heavy, but it's gonna satiate me a lot. So a lot of times I'll go for, some grilled chicken. Um, you know, that's very well seasoned. My wife is a cook, so she does a lot of the cooking. Sorry. But I'll, grab some leftover chicken or some, something that she made during the day, throw it over some rice, get some good vegetables in, and then every now and again, I will also throw in like a, protein shake to the side or something like that. But something that's just gonna just kind of fill me up, not necessarily make me feel full, um, but it's gonna be pretty good for, the next maybe 3 4 hours, so I don't have to like snack or anything like that. But it's not gonna make me feel like I need to go take a nap right after.
Right. Nothing worse than eating way too much, way too early, and then just feeling tired the rest of the day.
I do that way too often, trust me.
Yes, but I've worked the night shift before too, and I feel like that's a common issue because, like you said, and maybe a controversial statement, but I'm not a big breakfast person. I don't really eat breakfast. I usually prioritize sleeping a little bit extra over eating. So, but I'm big lunch guy. I eat lunch pretty early, usually like around 11 a.m. For my normal like 9 to 5.
Yep.
And so usually for me that's like a sandwich and some pretzels or chips or something like that. I feel like you can't go wrong with a sandwich, personally. But I don't really eat breakfast, although maybe I would if it was called power breakfast. That sounds pretty awesome.
I like the idea of power breakfast, right? We need to name our more like the hobbits from Lord of the Rings.
Like second breakfast,
Second breakfast.
noonsies.
Yeah, that would make me much more inclined to have a large amount of smaller meals throughout my day.
Yeah, I've been told that that's healthier for you anyway.
Yeah,
But
apparently.
yeah, but Uncle Che, thank you so much for the question. We will continue to tweet out before we go live and do our recordings and ask for questions from you guys so feel free to reply to us on Twitter. We'll make a thread in our Discord channel for those who are in the Discord channel to ask questions there as well. If you join our Patreon, you get priority questions answered in the episode, and there's a special category for that on Discord. So, please, that's one of the best ways to support us and help us get to the events once they eventually do come back, so that we can bring you the best content possible. But with that, we'd like to wrap up for this week. So thank you guys so much for listening. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts, as those 5 stars really help us really push out the show, and recommendations to other people really help us grow our audience. Also check out Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, and our merch store with, continuing items are continuing to be added every week. All of those links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. Remember to follow Sasuke on all of his social medias, which will be in the episode description. When those come out, they'll also be in the Discord for those of you that are in there. And from us on the show, as always, I hope you had a fantastic holiday, Happy New Year, and remember to choose Boost over Ball.
Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website, www.boostoverball.com, and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.